Hey everybody, it's Jaime and Amanda here today from Local Agency Realty Group out of North Mississippi, and we're here today to talk to you about home inspections and the process of purchasing or selling a home.
Welcome to Living in DeSoto County, Mississippi with Local Agency Realty Group, the YouTube channel dedicated to all things in Northwest Mississippi.
We're your hosts, Amanda Linton and Jamie Ross. We're local residents, moms, wives, and business owner realtors.
We're excited to share with you all the great things about the place that we call home. If you're interested in keeping up with all the things happening in and around DeSoto County, Mississippi,
like what it's like to live, eat, sleep, and work here, then be sure to tap the little bell to subscribe so you'll be notified when we have new content. So we're here in Q1 of 2025, and we just wanted to talk about some things that we are seeing happening in the market when it comes to home inspection contingencies and contracts. So Jamie, tell us something that is just something you're seeing out in your transactions.
Yeah, we did actually an episode a couple of weeks back where we talked a little bit about home inspections, but I don't know. I'm just finding now, I've been representing a lot of buyers lately, and I have been noticing that buyers are trending more of, they're expecting that the houses are pretty clean. Like they're expecting either they're good condition at the home inspection or the seller's going to make it in a good condition before we close. And I see some people wanting to walk away from contracts over it. Now, I've luckily, knock on wood, been able to hold contracts together and, convince buyers that, I guess convince is maybe not the right word, but
just like lead them
and let them know that these aren't end of the world issues that they're coming across. These are mostly maintenance things that can be easily rectified, and showing them solutions. And so, but the more challenge, I think, has been getting sellers to agree to make the necessary repairs.
Yeah. So I think that we are just far enough removed away from the market of, 2020, 21, early 22, when people were waiving home inspections and not doing them. People were waiving repairs and just, buying houses as is, because that's how the market was at that time. And I think that now we're to the point where those folks who purchased then are coming around and selling.
Yes.
And so they're kind of laying their experience from purchasing back in a different market onto today's market.
Yes.
And the reality is just, it's not the same.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, here recently I've had sellers that just, almost want to refuse doing any repairs.
It's almost offensive to some people.
Some people get very offended, and I have to tell them hey, it's not personal.
No, this is a business decision.
It's a business transaction.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell a home, and a buyer's trying to buy one, and we have to find a common ground to meet in the middle. Maybe it's not that you have to do everything, and maybe the buyer will back off some of their requests and meet you in the middle somewhere. But it is a negotiation, and and we talked about this on the prior episode, so I don't want to rehash it completely, but you have the negotiation period in the beginning to get you under contract, then you have your inspection period, and it's a negotiation period again. So that is a time the contract can fall apart. And what I think sellers forget sometimes, that buyer can walk away over any little thing that they found in the home inspection if it was not previously disclosed. At least here in Mississippi, that's the kind of the rule in Mississippi, but. And so sellers have to do a really good job of disclosing issues that they have in their house. If you have a broken seal in a window, disclose it. That you have a window seal that's a pane.
Because the reality is that you're just setting yourself up for smoother negotiations down the road. If you're being very upfront and crystal clear about what you know about a property, that's just, you're helping the buyer, you're helping your transaction, you're helping yourself sell this property. Nothing is more irritating than pulling a property condition disclosure statement.
And to be blank.
Somebody's lived there for 20 years and they don't know nothing about the house.
Perfect. Didn't do anything. Didn't have to. It was just perfect. I know.
It's aggravating.
I know. and you're right. And when I find I have shown and sold homes that needed a lot of work. But because the seller took the time to be very detailed and say, hey, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. I don't know why. It just stopped working. I have a problem with this, and this, and this. That's a homeowner that's paying attention to their home. Maybe they should have taken the effort to try to do some more maintenance in it. But, there's always different situations. Maybe it was a financial situation that they couldn't afford to do it, whatever it is. But they were honest. They're letting us know. And now when I'm showing the property to the buyer, I can say, hey, seller's already told us about these things. So let's look at it. They said this. Okay, we're going to check that out. Okay. And then usually when the buyer knows that up front and they're able to make decisions off even the offering on the property, those things become okay. It's when you get into an overwhelming situation of having the home inspection, when you're sitting there and you're listening to all the things that the home inspector says.
List, and it's all surprises.
And you're like, oh, I didn't know all this. This is overwhelming. I just don't think I can. I don't think I want to move forward. This house has a lot of work. It needs a lot of work, and it may not even be stuff that needs a lot of work.
But the home inspector, their job is to call out everything.
Yeah, their job is to be the eyes and the ears of the things that you can't see. And that's what I tell my buyers. That's what I tell my sellers. Like, hey, we're walking in this room and it looks great. Everything looks perfect. But I can't look at the receptacles and tell you if they're working or if they're loose or if a light fixture is flickering when it's on or if the roof not working.
It's raining.
Yeah, if there's a vent fan that's not hooked up in the attic or, there's just things we can't see when we're walking through there. Let me tell you about one of my pet peeves though, as a listing agent. It absolutely drives me crazy when people do a home inspection and the buyer doesn't attend. That is a deal killer. And so if you're a real estate agent and you happen to be watching this, always attend the home inspection with your buyer client.
Yep.
If you can't attend, schedule it for a different day. It's never a good idea to just let a home inspector go in and do it because the home inspector is likely going to do a really good job and find you a whole list of things, little minor things. Hey, the toilet's loose. Okay, bolt it down. The HVAC needs to be cleaned. Those are maintenance things. Those aren't broken, damaged things. Those are little maintenance items. But when a buyer doesn't attend and they get a 75-page document and all they're doing is scrolling and seeing all the things that need to be done, it freaks them out.
It really does, because just having your client there for the home inspection so that they can talk in person to the inspector, it helps keep the situation calm.
Yeah.
It really, really does. It helps them be able to see, okay, I know that issue is going to be on my report, but I see it and I'm looking at it and you're telling me about it. And it's really not that big a deal. Right. I'm not worried about it. So it's not going to surprise me when I see it on my report later.
Because a lot of buyers, when they're standing there and they're talking to a home inspector and he's saying, I've got to tell you about this, but truly it's probably not that big of a deal. It should be a pretty easy repair for you. I see this on many, many homes, so a home inspector can help levelize it. Now, if it's a major problem, home inspector is going to say, this is a major problem. This is going to be marked as a hazard, as a red flag, as a must do. And then you'll have some that are marked just like maintenance and stuff like that. So I think just having that buyer have the opportunity to have the conversation and kind of knowing what to do. And also buyers are a lot of times fairly handy. And if they say, that toilet needs to be bolted down,
it's not a big deal.
Okay, do it. It's going to be on the report. It's going to take up half a page because they put pictures in there and they put a statement. Part of what a home inspector does is they cover their butt too. They're going to put all the necessary disclaimers in there so that they don't miss something on telling you that then the buyer comes back and go, whoa, home inspector, you didn't tell me about this. No, they're putting it all in there. That's what makes it so long. That's why our sales contracts are so long. Somebody missed something somewhere along the line.
Somebody got moved. Yeah.
And so the state makes contract longer. And so every year our contracts get a little bit longer, a little more in depth. If something gets explained a little bit better. Same thing for home inspections. So I just think that the best advice I can give is buyer has to attend the home inspection. And I think agents should too. And I've almost gotten to the point now where I just tell agents, sorry. Now, here in Mississippi, home inspectors are members of our board and they have MLS access. And so they have the right to be able to go to the property that is not necessarily with a agent present. They have the appropriate key. But I still will tell them, seller wants you to be there. I want you to be there. We don't want, buyer, especially a buyer. We don't want a buyer in a home not represented, even if they're just with a home inspector. That doesn't count. You have to be there with your buyer client. That's my perspective. Now, in Tennessee, home inspectors do not have the access that we have here in Mississippi. And so the only way they can get into a home without an agent opening a door is that the listing agent would provide them with what we call a one-day code. That allows them to go to the property, punch a code in, access the key, and go into the property. And I will tell you, most agents in the Tennessee market do not allow agents to have home inspectors to have a 1-day code. They require an agent to show up, open the door, be there with them the entire time, escort their clients in. And I really think that's the best practice.
I think it's the most appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I don't mind a home inspector showing up early and getting started on it, because I don't advocate for my client to be there all day long either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll come back to that point in a second. But I think it's fine for a home inspector to show up, 1.5 to 2 hours early,
Mm-hmm.
do the home inspection, get through all the things they need to do without a buyer being there, and then be ready to kind of do a report readout, show pictures, go through everything, walk through the property, point
Mm-hmm.
things out, help everybody understand where we are. The reason I advocate that the buyer should not show up until about 30 to 40 minutes before, we should be leaving from the home inspection. So that's basically when the inspector's finished. And then we try to budget being at the house about 30 to 40 minutes. That's an opportunity for the buyer to walk through the property again, because they haven't been there in a little while. Do any measurements that they want to do in the house, because we're not coming back a bunch of times. And then number 3, to talk with the home inspector.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I don't want them walking around in the house and being there, and I don't want to be there while the home inspector's there, that home inspector is running all around that house. He may be doing stuff over here in the back bathroom, got some water going over here, he's got some water going over here in the sinks, he's upstairs in the attic checking something, he might be out on the roof. He's got a process. He's running around. He's going through his checklist. He's getting his pictures. The bigger the house, the more complicated it is. He's checking all the receptacles. He's got to open every window. He's got to turn the heat on, turn it off, air conditioning, all that stuff. You're going to check everything. When you have a buyer in the house during that time while he's got this long list of things he's trying to do, buyer's going to be asking questions. They're going to distract the home inspector. Home inspector is not going to in my opinion, home inspector can't do as a thorough job on that home inspection when a buyer's following them around, asking them little questions about everything. So it's just best practice. And I set this stage right up front with my buyers. We attend the last 30 to 45 minutes. Here's the time that we're going to arrive. Home inspectors come in at this time. They have their access, however way we get them access. And then we show up and we're ready to go over the report with the home inspector. So, and if I can't attend, I usually ask somebody on my team. So Amanda has attended home inspections for me. I may have attended some for you. I've had other agents in my office attend home inspection. Billy's attended home inspections for me if I couldn't be there. But I try to make it a real point to be at my home inspections. They're really important to me. To me, I feel like that is a big part of my job.
Well, and it also just really helps you be able to kind of get in front of any kind of issues, because if you're aware of them, again, you've seen it, you've laid your eyes on it, you've talked to the inspector about it, so that when you and your client sit down with a report and you're trying to get ready to remove that inspection contingency, but maybe with a list of repairs, you're more able to weigh out, okay, what's really an issue for you and what's really not that much of an issue for you,
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody's got a different skill set. Some people are like, oh, I'm an electrician, so all these receptacle things, not
a problem. Right.
I've got it, no problem. Or, grout missing in a shower. Oh, no problem. I pulled all my grout out of my last shower and I did it all myself. I changed it all up. Easy peasy. Okay. Everybody has a different skill set. Everybody interprets, different repairs to a different level. And so I'll just kind of let them tell them. I don't guide them. But if I do see something on the report that I feel like is a serious situation, I'll tell them, like, I think this should be one that we definitely need to have looked at. The other thing that I try to do too is kind of one of my best practices that I do no matter who I'm representing, buyer or seller. If I'm representing the buyer and the buyer puts together a list, I send that list over to a very trusted contractor right away, the same day, as soon as I get the list put together, before I notify the sellers, because we got a couple of days, a few days to negotiate, because I want to get a realistic idea of, can these things be done? How much will it cost to get them done? Things like that. That way, when I start negotiating this, I'm kind of knowing a value associated with it. In my experience, the best thing to do is to just get some kind of level of compensation for the buyer. Maybe could go through a closing cost or something like that, and let the buyer handle repairs after they move in. Unless it's something that's like serious, like this damaging the property, a water loss, a water leak, mold, things like that. Those have to be handled immediately. But if we're talking little things like a ceiling fan's not working or a receptacle in the wall is loose and not working, something minor like that, then unless the seller is super handy and they can do it, I usually try to just get the compensation, let them handle it after closing.
So let's talk about that for just a second, though, because I've had this issue pop up before where we do the home inspection contingency removal document. We agree, everybody comes to terms, everybody signed that document, and we've negotiated. We're done with this. We're moving forward.
Yeah.
I've then had buyers kind of have like remorse for that afterwards. Before closing, and come back and say, well, Amanda, I was thinking about X, Y, and Z. Do you think we can ask the seller to come off the price, to give us concession, whatever? And I have to tell them, no, we've already signed and taken that contingency out of the contract. We can't do that at this point. So it's just really important when we're having those conversations with our clients to understand that once we're done negotiating at this point, we're moving on. That contingency is cleared and we're moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. Not just that, and even though we tell them, and I know both you and I are probably really like diligent in how we explain everything and where we are, what the next step is, what this means, here's what you're signing, all of that stuff. The bottom line is most buyers only buy 5 to 7 houses in their lifetime. And we might be helping them with transaction number 2. And the last time they bought a house was 10 years ago. And so we definitely know the paperwork and the process a whole lot better than they do. So it's just some patience and some clarifying and making sure they understand it and stuff like that. One thing that you said kind of reminded me of this. A lot of times I find that buyers confuse repairs and home inspections with final walkthrough too. They think that we're going in here at final walkthrough and we're picking out some new things for the seller to do. So I always tell them like, hey, we're going to be there like 10, 15 minutes the most. I mean, really what we're doing is if there were any repairs that were made, we're double checking to make sure you're satisfied with them. And by the way, I always tell my client, I'm not the one that's going to determine that because I'm not a contractor. I'm not checking anything. I'm not testing anything. I will point you to where the item is and you're welcome to test it if you want to. But if there was some extensive repairs, I had a number of them and, and maybe situations where buyers not going to be checking, not getting on the roof, not crawling through ductwork in the attic or, anything like that. I always advocate bring that home inspector back in. And it's an additional fee. And I will tell you, most of the time when I bring them back in, the repairs really weren't done completely and fully. And so sometimes we have to bring them back in 2 times because we find that they just didn't do the greatest job at it. And so, which is why I've learned over the years, to me, it's best to just get some compensation and let the buyer deal with those repairs afterwards, because especially sometimes we're dealing with a seller that wants to make the repairs and maybe he's not really a handyman. And the standard of repair is different than the standard of expectation. So it just can cause some problems at the last minute. But anyway, I guess the point of that was the time that we spend at that final walkthrough is just to verify repairs were made. We're looking at invoices. We're checking things. Buyer can test some things out. And then we're just making sure that nothing has dramatically changed in the house that will be detrimental to the property.
Yeah, we're making sure the property is in the same or better.
Yeah, so nobody changed out appliances, light fixtures. No major damage was happening.
Moving out.
Right. So it's just, it's a quick and easy in and out. But I have to explain that to everybody too.
Yes.
We're like, we're only going to be there 15 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. 15 minutes. And when do you do your final walkthroughs?
I try to do mine the day before or the day of closing if we have time. If I have like a 9 or 10 a.m. closing, obviously we're not going to go walk through that morning. But I do try to do it as close to closing as I can, just because I want to give the seller as much time. If you've got somebody who, like, the house isn't vacant, you've got somebody who is moving out, they need as much time as they need, to ultimately get out of the house. And I want to be as close to the exchange of keys as possible. So that the house that you see today is the house that you're getting keys for later today. Or,
exactly.
I don't want to do a final walkthrough a week before when the seller's still got stuff everywhere. We can't see anything for sure. I want to do it. Every single other contingency is cleared. That's the last thing we go do. Now we would need to closing.
I don't do it. If we don't have a clear close, we're not doing final walkthrough.
No, because if there's any situation with the loan, no way.
I had one recently over the last couple of weeks, and the clear to close didn't come until the morning of closing. And we had planned to do the final walkthrough the day before. And so I just put it off and I said, nope, We'll do the final walkthrough. As soon as we get that clear to close, we got the clear to close. We went and did the final walkthrough, had to move all of our closing times up and stuff that day, and was able to get it done that day. But just, I'm not gonna do it early. And I think one more point that I'll make too is, I touched on it just a second ago. One person's level of cleanliness is not what doesn't match someone else's always. Same thing with repairs. One person's level of acceptance on conditions doesn't match someone else's. And so I think sometimes sellers think, oh, the house is perfect. It's a great condition. But in reality is the whole thing needs to be painted, hasn't been painted in 15 years. The appliances are 18 years old. Everything's going to flag on the home inspection report that it's reached towards the end of its lifetime, but it's functioning. It's functioning. And so, but another buyer would come in and go, okay, but I'm paying top dollar for this house. Yeah, everything is older, and I'm going to have to come in here and spend a lot of money to bring it up to my standards.
And then if a buyer happens to find out what those sellers bought that house for, and then they compare that to their current contract price and all these issues, I've had a hang up there before where people get upset about that.
Yeah, I know.
So let's just share, to kind of wrap this video up, one just kind of overall tip in terms of home inspections and working with either side, with your listing or a buyer. What would be a good tip?
I'll go for working with sellers. So I usually tell them to change out their filters in their HVAC systems. If they especially if it's summertime, if they haven't cleaned their HVAC, their outside condenser units, in a while, to do that, because a lot of people don't recognize the fact that when you're doing yard work and stuff, all that grass, dust, and everything gets pulled right up in there. Even if you got it cleaned 2 weeks ago, it's going to look dirty. And so there's so many tips I could give on that, but to make sure that's done. And also make sure every light fixture has a bulb that works. Yeah. Because if you're missing a bulb in a light fixture, that home inspector has nothing to say except for it did not work.
Yep.
And so now a buyer thinks you have a whole light fixture that didn't work because you didn't put a bulb
in it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So for me, I think the biggest tip would be just to be reasonable. Whether you're a buyer or you're a seller, just be reasonable.
Yeah.
If you are a buyer and you get a 75-page report, let's figure out what the most important X number of items are that we need to put on here. The big ticket things that we want the seller to address. We're not going to send over a 75-page report and ask the seller to do all of this stuff in 2 weeks before we close, you know? And then the same thing on the listing side. Like Jaime said, everybody's standards and expectations fluctuate. They're a little different from each other. So if you're a seller and you get a big list of repairs that somebody's asking for, try not to immediately react from a place of offense or really offense, because that buyer's just trying to make sure that the product that they're purchasing is in the condition that they expect.
Yeah.
So if you are capable and willing to take care of those repairs, that's showing good faith, that's showing, good stewardship of the property in transferring it to someone new. So I think that that's really just the most important piece of this, is just to, as real estate agents, it's our job to help people find their reason sometimes.
Yeah.
Because this process can be intimidating and it can be scary.
Yeah, you're right. And I'd say the other thing too is I let people sleep on it. And so if we had a home inspection at 10 o'clock one day and we get the report back at 3, I'm probably not talking to the buyer that night. I'm making sure they got it. Hey, make sure you got your home inspection report. Make sure you were able to access it. Make sure you're able to read it, review it. I'm reviewing it tonight. Let's catch up tomorrow. What time works for you? I do that. For sellers, it's, hey, I got if I'm representing the seller, hey, I got a home inspection contingency removal form with some components of a home inspection report, sending it over to you. Please take a moment to review it and let's find a time to talk. So send it over, make sure they have access to it, make sure they can open it up, and then we schedule a time to talk about it. Usually it's the next morning. I want people to kind of review it, think through it.
If they're going to have a reaction.
Have the reaction on your own. I don't want to be on the phone with them when you have your reaction. And then sleep on it. And then let's wake up in the next morning. Usually people have had a chance to calm down, think through it.
Digest it.
Be logical.
Yep.
And then we can have a conversation and speak about it, that we can come to terms with something. Had one just this week that exact same thing happened, and I broke my own cardinal rule. I spoke to the seller the same day it happened, and they were like just steaming over some inspection items that the buyer wanted. And I told him, I said, you know what? I hear you. Let's talk again in the morning. I want you to like just think through it. You and your spouse talk over it. And then tomorrow, let's talk.
Let's make a plan.
Yeah, let's talk at, 11:45 tomorrow, whatever it was. Spoke about it the next day. They were a little more reasonable. They had some ideas to try to help move the transaction along.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, it all worked out.
Mm-hmm. Because at the end, when we close, that's what everybody wants, right? We want happy sellers and happy buyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the episodes today. And until next time, you can find us here at Local Agency Realty Group, and we will see you later.
Yep. All right. Take care. Bye. If you're thinking about making a move in and around DeSoto County, Mississippi, our experts at Local Agency Realty Group would love to help you.
Whether it be a starter home, luxury home, a custom build, an investment property, or even land, we understand the market and can help you explore the local communities to find the right fit for you.
But we can't help you unless you reach out. So give us a call, send us a message, or shoot us a text. We're here for you days, nights, or weekends. Let Local Agency Realty Group lead you home.